Good evening, everyone. Huh? Oh. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're going to call to order the October 20th school committee meeting, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and we will start with public comment. Is there any public comment this evening? Okay. Moving on to consent items. Approval of minutes. Did we get those in?
She said it would be
Next time, right, okay. All right, so we'll skip over those. Are our student reps here?
I do not see that.
I-
I'm running online today.
Oh, you're on, I'm sorry, guys, I didn't. Hello, Nora.
Hi. Yeah, it's just me. Ben couldn't make it this meeting.
All right, well, the floor is yours when you are ready.
All right, thank you. Okay, so first of all, just to quickly catch you up on what's been going on since our last meeting, the World Language Induction Ceremony was Wednesday after school, and my friends in the Spanish Honor Society tell me it went really well, so I'm really proud of all of them. Next, with Diwali coming up on Monday, the Desi Club has decorated the hallways with like paper candles, and they've been playing Desi music in the morning. And so I love to see the school kind of diversify and like celebrate all sorts of cultures. Coming up, or actually what we're in right now is Spirit Week, as you know, and I'm really happy to see the school and all grades of the school like really engaged. I see a lot of people dressing up, playing the games during lunch, like donating, and so I'm happy to see that. In terms of like how the games and how the dress ups are going, seniors are in the lead, so no one's surprised. And then coming up on Friday is homecoming, which I hear is going to be really populated. I hear they've sold like 700 tickets or something like that. So, and then the sports teams, I think a lot of them have been having like their senior nights lately, which again, it's good to celebrate like seniors and like have all the teams come together. And so I hear all of that has been going really well. And I think that's all I have for today's meeting.
Great, thank you. Let's see if we have any questions. Ms. Picard?
No, thank you.
Ms. Vitsky?
No questions, thanks.
Mr. Hicks? Mr. McDevitt?
Just a couple of quick things. One, I also attended the foreign language induction ceremony last night, and I thought that they did a great job. What I think was really kind of cool is, one, they obviously do it in the foreign language, so I didn't understand any of it, but they all did it very differently, and they all kind of, have their own way of doing it, and I thought that just kind of was pretty amazing. I'm thrilled to see homecoming coming back more, and 700 tickets are being sold. I think is fantastic, and hopefully people are starting to feel more comfortable about celebrating and being together. So I think that's great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. You are welcome to stay, or you are welcome to go do other things.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Dr. Gilligan, I think that's you next.
Great. So we have an exciting superintendent's report tonight. Just to cover it, we have a few items, and we'll have a group here tonight of staff. We have some students that led a student and a teacher-led project to exonerate the last of the wrongly convicted Salem witches. 329 years later, so they'll be up, and Ms. Marks will introduce them. I just want to say, I think the coolest thing of all that, and Ms. Marks, I can always steal people's thunder, is when I was a kid, Scholastic magazine was something that I looked forward to. That and Worldly Wise, I like those too, but I think Scholastic magazine is in Idaho, Wyoming, Hawaii. I mean, it's something that's all across the country, and I just think it's really cool that you guys are on the cover. And so they're here tonight. And then secondly, we'll have Christmas Carol, Miss Carol from the high school to talk about the American Sign Language and Braille update, how we've revived that and brought that back in a really dynamic way. And then we have tonight with us Superintendent John Lavoie from the Greater Lawrence Technical School with the Director of North Andover High School Guidance, Meg Pinkston and Chet Jackson. And they're going to be talking about a really cool opportunity. Tonight's an introduction. And last but not least, we're going to give the October 1 enrollment. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the North Andover Historical Society. They had an educators open house today. I had the pleasure of going with Miss Marks, along with some North Andover teachers and teaching assistants. And we got to tour the newly renovated Stevens building. We also got to check out the Warden Theater, which I had been to before. But even cooler, they have a new archivist who also works in Boxford. And she let me up in the archives, and there's a lot of stuff. I could spend days and days and days up there. So it was really awesome that they had that today. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ms. Marks to introduce the first group.
I invite Pierre and Lucas and Lila to come on up, take a seat. You can sit.
Bring up more chairs.
Yeah, grab
Don't
it.
be shy.
Lucas Slather and Ms. Lapierre, though, when you do speak for the audience at home, we have 2 microphones, if you could just share when you go back and forth.
Right. And Dr. Gilligan already mentioned that this was a really interesting, I've said to them, and I know I sent your teacher a couple of emails, you probably thought I was crazy, but I'm like, this is just incredible. I just think for students to take on a project like that is, you have made history. And, being a woman and knowing what happened to a number of the women who were accused of witchcraft and why they were accused, for you to take that on and clear Elizabeth's name is just tremendous, I think, and you will forever be a part of history by that action. I'm just honestly blown away by the whole thing. I just think it's so cool. And I know I know Ms. LaPierre said, I really don't like being in the public, and I know you guys have been tossed into the public light a number of times, so I really appreciate you coming tonight. I just feel like I want you all recognized for the work that you did, because, again, it's huge. It's really important. Dr. Gilligan mentioned Junior Scholastic Magazine, and I think, Lucas, you're going to share a little bit about your experience with that. I'll ask Dr. Mealy to pull that picture up. But as Dr. Gilligan said, that's a national magazine that students look at, impressive. And then I found out through the principal's email that you were going to be on Kelly Clarkson that day. I happened to look at that email. So I asked one of our admin assistants if we could get it on the computer. So when you guys came on, I was able to watch it. And the poise and the confidence and the knowledge with which you spoke, just tremendous. So I just so impressed and just so excited that you're here tonight. So I won't say anything else. I'll let you guys tell your story, but great work, and thank you for being here. And thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you. I don't know how close I need to be to this.
Pretty close.
I'm a teacher. I'm pretty loud to begin with.
If you use the microphone, then the viewing audience can hear you better, and the amplification makes it so I can hear you in the room. So
Got it.
Please do use your microphone.
Does that work?
It helps me, yes.
Perfect. So I'll just give you a little background on how it all started, and then I'll let them speak about what we all did. This came to me probably about 3.5, 4 years ago now through the North Andover Historical Society. There's an author, Richard Haidt, who wrote a book, In the Shadows of Salem, who worked closely with the North Andover Historical Society. And randomly, I think through Greg Pasco, we got connected. And he's like, I'm from Rhode Island, I can't bring legislation, would you like to get your class involved? And I guess somewhat naively, I was like, sure, it'll take a few weeks, and the Eagle Tribune will care, and that'll be that. So here, 3 years later, here we are, and we finally got the job done. But I learned a ton through the whole process, not only about how to teach them civics, because that was a whole new curriculum for me when this project started ongoing, but also just about the town history in terms of the Salem witch trials, and just how to bring that with the kids, because I think that's such an important thing, that they have some knowledge of what went on in their town. So that was a really cool part of the project. So I think I dragged them into it at the beginning. In a lot of cases, the class before them actually started it, and we worked with Senator DiZoglio to write the bill that got into the Judiciary Committee and then got, put in study. It was put in, see, they know their stuff. It was put in study, and then these guys took it up, and we started, again, contacting senators and representatives and the governor, and they went to town on that. Let's put it that way. They did a fabulous job. So that is, I think, is what caught the attention and all the press that we've gotten, because we certainly got our share of press. So I'll let you guys talk about that part.
Well, first,
That one might be easier.
first what happened was I think in May, the news got out that Elizabeth Johnson Jr. had been exonerated, but in fact she had not been. She was just placed as an amendment to our state budget bill. So she wasn't yet exonerated, but if the governor would sign the budget bill, then she would be exonerated. So all the news came out saying that she got exonerated, so we got even more press. And Ms. LaPierre was asked to countless numbers of interviews. And in June, Ms. LaPierre asked me and another student who couldn't be here tonight that if we could do an interview with Junior Scholastic. And we did that in the middle of June, almost before school ended. And we ended up going and taking pictures in Salem over the summer.
So cool.
And
We like the ones that we hiked into the woods up there.
oh yeah, over there. We went in the side and we went into the woods. We went to a cemetery. We took many, many photos. And they asked us all different types of questions, like how this project started, how Ms. LaPierre introduced the project to us, and how we got her finally exonerated, which happened in July. So we weren't even able to kind of celebrate in school with the whole class.
The cool thing about their interview was it was a Zoom interview with the writer from Scholastic. I happened to be sitting in the room with them, like over in the corner, while the two of them were on the Zoom doing the interview. I'm like crying because they were so well-spoken and nailed the questions and knew what they were talking about. And it was just, I was so proud to see how much they were able to say and how much they knew. It was amazing.
Can you just make sure you use the microphone?
Oh, sorry.
'Cause I think Lucas might have moved it. And,
Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry.
Oh, my bad.
All right, thank you. I'm getting the signal. All right,
All right, that's better.
awesome.
And do you want to talk about Kelly Clarkson?
Sure. So, pretty much, I forget exactly when, but Miss LaPierre reached out to me and asked me if I would like to get interviewed by the Kelly Clarkson Show, because they said that they might do a segment on it, but they were still iffy about it. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. So a few students got interviewed, and we all just kind of were freaking out, honestly, because we never really expected that to happen out of our project. Like, Miss LaPierre said she didn't expect it to be a big thing, and we didn't really, like, we knew it was something big, but we didn't think it'd be seen, like, nationally and stuff. So it was really cool to just, like, be in that experience. I was freaking out, honestly. So we were asked to come to LA, and we went to LA with Miss LaPierre. Me and my older sister, Kylie, her class started the project. They made the bill. They put it into the legislative, and then my class came in. Obviously, we put in calls, emails, letters, anything you can really think of. We did it. Miss LaPierre did a great job of doing that, and like the whole class got to do it, and everyone was pretty interested in it. And like going to the Kelly Clarkson Show and being able to talk about that was like really a great experience, and I loved representing my class with my sister there, representing her class, and it was just like this surreal moment for me, and I think for all of us, and it was just really cool, and I loved having the experience, so thank you, Ms. LaPierre.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have changed history. You've changed history. So just, again, I'm just blown away by it, and I'm so proud of you, and it's an honor to have you here tonight. So thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm sure it'll sink in at some point.
And just for the folks at home or here, we're not going to play the clip tonight. That it's 8 minutes or so, but it's really pretty cool to be on NBC in that time slot. So great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite Chris and Christoph. I don't know if you go by Chris too, so okay. Okay. We invited them here tonight, really in line with our, thank you everyone, have a nice evening.
Thank you for being here. Great job.
In line with our inclusion and diversity focus in North Andover. It's something that we've talked about a lot, and I know that Chris has been the leader of the World Language Program until very recently, which I'll mention in a minute as well, and has talked about it for a couple of years, bringing in American Sign Language and then Braille. So they started the class again this year, and Chris shared with me some videos and some comments, and I thought this really needs to be talked about too. You know, we are doing a lot of work around diversity and inclusion and looking at all of our students. Christoph is actually our EL teacher. So I just want to highlight that. Last week when we shared our access results, you saw the tremendous, impressive results we saw at the high school. This is the teacher. So I think I had kind of said, oh, you'll see more of him next week, but thank you. Great work, very impressive results. And Chris has retired, so I also want to say that. Thank her for all of her years here. She's very passionate about her work and about students, and very respectful and caring about all her students. It's something I've come to see with her, so I just want to mention those two things. But they did try to get some students to come tonight. Students are working. They have jobs who are in the class, so they have some information they're going to share and some testimonials from the students. So.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us this evening. We have a one semester course. We're offering it both semesters with about 20 kids in each semester. And Christoph is a wonderful teacher, and he's facilitating the course and learning at the same time, which is a great part of teaching. So I just want to say that when I wrote the course, I authored the course, but it was inspired by my sister, who was a middle school teacher in Oregon and had an advisory on disabilities. And she had guest speakers who were paralyzed, blind, and deaf, and she was an athlete, and she ran the goal ball tournament, which is a Paralympic sport with a ball with a bell in it, which we played recently at school, which was a hoot. And she ran the track meet for the Oregon Association for the Blind for middle school kids and elementary school kids. And it really touched my heart. And I think it's really an extension of Ray's values that you're, especially in the elementary schools, are going great guns. So essentially, the kids do ASL, and they have a video every week. They do Braille exercises. They learn the history of the invention of all those systems and sign language around the world a little bit. They learn about schools and education for hearing impaired and deaf and the blind. The nice part, I think, is that they learn about courageous blind people and deaf people who have faced, challenges that would be very difficult, especially in our adult years. So they learn about problem solving and resilience, which I think is very important for mental health and being a strong person. They learn about advocates, teachers, and interpreters for the blind, which the more they learn, the more they have faith in people, I think, which is easy to lose sometimes. Nice to admire people for their career paths. They practice respect, and they learn that people have a mission sometimes in their lives, and that can be a great career choice. They learn about conditions that can cause these problems. They learn about caning, so cane travel. They learn about service animals, and they learn about games. So they play charades, because that helps you to emote with your facial expressions and helps you to be a better communicator, and that's important with sign language. And then they play Yahtzee, and after a while they put their blinders on and they play it with tactile dice. So they play it with partners because it's quite frustrating to figure out what you've rolled and then to strategize for your next roll and figure out what you've rolled. And it teaches empathy for people who have had to relearn how to be a person. They played goal ball, like I said. They were blindfolded, and I got to sub that day because Christoph had a meeting, and Mr.
I was here. In the conference room.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr. Jackson came to watch, and the kids had a hoot. It was great. They got me in it with my little blinders on, and it took me about 1 minute to say, okay, nope, not doing this, I'm done. But I asked Christoph last year if he would learn to teach the course. It's loaded up on a Google Classroom, so we can use it every single year. And I'm going to turn it over to Christoph to tell you more about the specifics.
Yeah, so when Ms. Carroll asked me to teach American Sign Language, I don't know any American Sign Language. It was brand new to me. But I am a big and eager learner. And it was a great opportunity for me to learn with a student population I don't usually work with. I usually work with the English language learners of North Andover High School. A great population to work with. They are tremendously successful by their own right. I'm happy to work with them and help them springboard their success. But in reality, we have a tremendous student population at North Andover High School. And this class, American Sign Language and Braille, is really a testament to the community that North Andover has. There was a lot of eagerness in the classroom from the get-go. The positivity and the opportunity for these students to learn and help others in their community was very apparent. And they've all showed incredible strides in learning this language. Today, they had to create skits and sign what they would like to order. And so they had role-playing as one person would be the waiter, one person would be the customer. And they were extraordinarily fluid in how they were able to both greet, say hello, make their order, ask for adjustments in their order. It was incredible. I really wish we had more footage of that. Well, we do have, however, a couple of testimonials. So this is something I made for the parent-teacher conference we had about a month ago. You can move the slides past this one. So this is our class goals as far as, again, a testament to Ms. Carroll. She created a tremendous course. I can't say enough how easy it is for me to teach because it's so well done. And the students are extremely enjoying it and picking up everything that's being provided. So again, a testament to how well created it is. The students have to learn American Sign Language and Braille, and they have to communicate either using flip grids or conversations that we have in class. We have a wonderful assortment of videos to help them both understand the material and the reason for the material. As Ms. Carroll pointed out, the historical aspect, and we were able to see a couple of pieces of media, such as the story of Helen Keller, some individuals who go through being blind and being deaf in their everyday lives. So the empathy is real, and it's also shared because these students, they have masks that blind them, and they have opportunities to undergo hearing loss with high-pitch tinnitus. And it's just, they show such an appreciation for all these tools that other people have created to make life better for the world that we share. And they take it upon themselves to be both learners and teachers. We had a wonderful story of one student who was working at a drive-through window, and somebody was trying to put an order, and they couldn't because they were deaf and they needed to they used sign language. And he was like, oh, I know sign language. So he was able to rescue the day by both explaining the situation to his colleagues at work, but also taking their order, and she was extremely thankful, her and her young daughter. So again, we have already a lot of success stories with the program. It's a completely new program. It's a pilot program. And the students are showing incredible cognitive benefits in addition to that. I can only speak to myself regarding my experience with learning American Sign Language and Braille. So I know French, thankfully, because my parents were born in France and I have I'm bilingual. But learning Spanish, for example, I always kind of fumble because of the same synapses that are created following that that cognitive path in learning a language. The French and the Spanish get kind of mixed up sometimes. But with American Sign Language, there is none of that. It's just a completely clean slate in learning the language. And I think it's really wonderful that we also add the tactile nature of Braille that goes along with it, which is perhaps in some ways the more challenging aspect for a lot of our students as they were going into classroom to classroom and kind of guiding stuff up. But if we want to get to some of the testimonials, so this is, again, some stuff I did for the cognitive aspect. This is some of the stuff we've learned so far. And then we have Flipgrid videos that the students do, and I'm hopeful that we have some testimonials. Excellent. So we had 4 questions. What have you learned specifically? My favorite part about American Sign Language and Braille has been the exposure to different forms of communication, as well as the people who created it. And they use these intricate languages. I'm going to jump to question number 2. How has this class been beneficial? The class has been beneficial because I'm able to appreciate everything that I have and how easy I am able to do everyday tasks. and that not everyone has this ability. For example, my aunt has had hearing loss her whole life. She does have a hearing aid, but she also knows plenty of American Sign Language. So we're allowing family members to communicate more effectively with each other. Do you recommend North Andover High School keep the class? Yes, 100%. 4, would you like to see this done differently? And then with this was an opportunity to make sure that students have their input and how they'd like to see the class be done going forward. Again, we're brand new at this, and so it's really good to have their feedback to make sure. And then we have a couple more testimonials that follow. I'm sure you'll be able to read this in your own time. Pass it over back to Chris Crowell.
I forgot to say that part of the class is a service project. So we suggest that kids get in touch with the Lions Club that does international work with the blind and visually impaired. And we have one pianist in the class who's interested in playing concerts at the Carroll Center for the Blind or at Perkins, and we've made some connections there. And so that'll be an interesting aspect of it, too.
I think you had mentioned that some of the students are interested in getting the certification to be an interpreter as well. So it's also opened up some opportunities for students to think about maybe some career choices or opportunities they wouldn't have even been aware of.
Yeah, in fact, real quickly, I spoke with Northern Essex Community College, which has a really good interpreter program and other programs for to help the hearing impaired, and they'll honor the course as an introductory course in their 2-year program, and interpreters who graduate can apply for jobs that immediately earn $50 to $100 an hour interpreting, so a job with a mission, you know.
Great. So I think it's wonderful. I think it's a great opportunity for the students, and I thank you both for pursuing that and for taking that on. So
Thank you.
questions? Or
Do we have some questions?
Yeah, of course.
Would you mind answering a few questions from the committee? Sorry. I'm sorry.
The students got out on us pretty quick.
I know. Ms. Picard, we'll start with you. Do you have any questions?
First, I just want to say for coming. And I would just share that my younger offspring graduated recently from RIT, which has the National Technical Institute for the Deaf. So I've learned a great deal about the deaf community. I have hearing loss. Our former next door neighbor had both his retinas detached, so he is now blind and uses Braille and is actually using his technical background to create new assistive devices for the blind. So it's really neat, all the connections that you can make, and I appreciate what you're doing. And especially learning while you're teaching. It's really fun to learn along with your students. I love doing that, so thank you.
Ms. Fietsky?
Thanks. Thanks for coming. This was wonderful. Is it an elective?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It's only for juniors and seniors, people who've completed their 2-year requirement.
Okay. That was my next question, the age. And then just a thought, when you were talking about service projects, I know in the elementary schools they do a program called Understanding Our Differences, and they're always looking for volunteers to help the kids, and they take a different disability each time, and there is one on hearing loss and being deaf. So that might be a good opportunity for them to help out and teach the younger kids about it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Please do.
Mr. Hicks?
More just a comment. Language is such a really important part of how we learn and how we communicate and express our culture. So thank you for giving our students a different window to look through into other cultures. I think it's really, really important. And just as a possible contact in Lawrence, they do have a teacher of the deaf who's fantastic. She helped me in having to make accommodations for my own students. Teacher of the blind, my bad, helped me making accommodations for my students, Denise Dudash, and she's a great contact.
What was the word you just said, Studash?
Dudash. Denise Dudash. She's fantastic.
Okay.
Yep, and she's the teacher of the visually impaired.
Can you spell that?
Dudash.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Mr. McDevitt?
Just super quickly, I love the phrase that you used, just the world that we share. And I think, kind of coming from the world languages, and, even the ceremony last night that celebrates all of that, this is a huge part of the world that we share. And so, I really appreciate just hearing that term kind of tonight. So that was great. And then Ms. Vitsky asked a little bit about, that this is an elective for juniors and seniors. Is there any consideration at like the state level, like would this qualify for something with the world language criteria? Is there any possibility if we had like a 2-year program?
Well, it's interesting that you said that. and it
I saw
was
you just come right up to the table, so I didn't prep you, but this is great.
well, and I. It's unfortunate that Mr. Jackson is sitting in the chair right now because this puts a little stress on him. But I didn't want to do this to you. I'm supposed to be gone anyway. So I was advocating to start an ASL program years ago, and unfortunately we had one TA who was capable of teaching ASL, and she moved, and things just were everything missed. I went to go see a wonderful ASL class in Harvard, Mass. at Bromfield High School, and because of that, we now have a Spanish teacher working for us who's fabulous. Anyway, it turned out well. But the coolest part of it was that ASL there was the great equalizer. So they had the valedictorian in their high school in the room, and they had special students that needed a little support all throughout their whole academic career, and they were doing better than the valedictorian. And it was taught in such a very dynamic way. The kids were into it. So if it's a budgetary issue, I just, on my way out the door, I would advocate for maybe giving us a little bit more wiggle room in the budget to have an optional 2-year program for ASL and hand select the people, Megan. So I think it would be a dream come true for a lot of very frustrated students who find world language a challenge, a typical system of communication. So if we're serious about educating all students, I would be so thrilled to know that you stood behind that initiative.
I love it. I guess the other part of the question is there's a graduation requirement graduation requirement for a foreign language. Would this count?
It is. It is.
Does count.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's a local, you have local school committee policy, and then you have.
And if we offered it younger, with the change in the high school schedule, our students could dual enroll at Northern Essex and get their certification before they graduated from high school.
Right. Yeah, that's fast. I was actually, that was my last point too.
Oh, see?
No,
Great minds think alike.
Perfect. The
Fools seldom
opportunities
differ.
that we've talked about of giving those things with Northern Essex or Merrimack or other places for students to have, just a different challenge, right? And perhaps earn some credit. So that'd be awesome. I love it. This is great. Really well done.
And you're absolutely right about the foreign language, and a lot of kids with language-based learning disabilities ask for a waiver out of the foreign language because it struggles too much. So this would be a perfect, substitute.
That population's pretty rare, actually, at the high school. But as a choice, our world language teachers are really good, and they are inclusive, and they have all kinds of strategies in the classroom to include everyone. But people fall through the cracks, and that's not good enough. And if we had an option for ASL, I think some of those kids would feel a lot better about themselves.
I love it. Sold.
I in college wanted to take ASL as my foreign language, but was told no. So I 100% love this program, and I love the empathy that it builds amongst our students to have that experience of having to rely on your other senses to accomplish a task like playing a simple game. I just think we need more of that for our students, because we need to build empathy and awareness within our, across everywhere. Is there any chance, and I don't want to put pressure, but I would love to know how these service projects turn out. If it's at the end of the school year or whatever the time frame is, I would love to and I know you said the students are working, but if we could get them in here, that would be, or a flip grid. Play a flip grid for us. We'd love to see it. But thank you so much for all that you're doing. This is awesome.
Thank you for considering it all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
And so before we have the next group up, I don't think we take this opportunity enough. We have a strategic plan with 3 main objectives: equity for all students, consistent and rigorous curriculum, and targeted professional practice. And there's 11 initiatives under those 3 main objectives. And these 3 presentations tonight, I just want to highlight how they come in, because sometimes I don't think we make that connection enough. So, for equity for all students, and especially this next one's a great little presentation. Improve district programming to address students' variable needs with a focus on increasing opportunities for all students. That's critical. And also committing to a culture that reflects, respects, and embraces the voices, perspectives, and differences arising from our diverse community. And I think we just saw that there. And with the first group, under consistent and rigorous curriculum, I really think is cool, is learner-centered experiences that allow students to apply their knowledge to authentic situations with a focus on civic engagement, social justice, and empowering global leaders. And,
Nailed it.
Yeah. And oftentimes that's the case every time we come.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to point that out tonight because it really ties into, a thoughtful plan here in North Andover. So without further ado, I'd love to have our high school principal, Chet Jackson, come up, Director of Guidance, Ms. Pinkston. And it's an honor to have with us tonight the Superintendent of Schools for the Greater Lawrence Technical School, John Lavoie, and that is our district technical school that we're a member of. And they are going to talk about, give an introduction tonight, and we wanted to get it in tonight. And I'm not going to explain the whole thing, as I can do sometimes. But this is about a program where students would go to North Andover part of the day, go over to Greater Lawrence for some really awesome opportunities. And it would be something we'd be looking to do not this year, but for the following year. So.
Thanks for having us. Hope everyone's having an enjoyable night so far. And I'd like to just thank Chris Carroll, too, from the high school. We're going to do something for her on our November 8 PD Day and have a little lunch at the high school for her many years of experience. Sometimes we have the retirements that start kind of at the start of the year. They can get lost in the shuffle, but she's beloved by many students, past and present, and has always done a fantastic job. I'm excited to be here tonight. Obviously, we've heard about the sign language program. We're in our second year of our schedule here, and we've been working and building, to do some more things for our students. Obviously, the course we just heard about was one of the things. A couple of things we're trying to do as we kind of get our feet wet here is produce more opportunities, additional opportunities for our kids outside the walls of North Andover High School. Whether they be college or career. So last year, I think it was last year, we had our meeting, Dr. Mealy, Megan, myself, I think it was Susan Almano at Greater Lawrence Tech. We met to kind of discuss how North Andover can get involved in this After Dark program in the collaboration with our neighbors at Greater Lawrence Technical School. So I'll turn it over to Megan so she can kind of outline kind of that process, how we see it so far, and then we can turn it over to Dr. Lavoie.
Good evening, everyone. We are very excited about this opportunity, our potential opportunity to partner with Greater Lawrence Technical High School. As you guys know, one of the benefits of our new schedule is to try to find flexible, unique opportunities for our students, both educationally, vocationally, and to get involved with our community. So this is just one layer of that. So Mr. Lavoie will kind of explain the details of the program and how it will work, but for us, it really fits naturally into our new schedule and aligns with what our goals are. It allows students to remain part of the North Andover High School community, get a diploma from our school, but also get some vocational training in highly sought-after fields with certifications to make them competitive in the job field of their choice after graduation. So kind of the best of both worlds for students who either do not choose a vocational high school path at the beginning of high school, but then kind of as they get into their high school career, realize that that's something that they're really interested in. So kind of giving students an opportunity to kind of pick their path, which is really what we wanted them to do.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to present our After Dark program. I would say congratulations to the two wonderful programs that you have had this evening, your high school students, and the Braille hearing program sounds pretty amazing. So I think we would like those two programs ourselves. So, you know, as your school, we're making a lot of changes with our curriculum and making changes with our scheduling. As I always say, education never stops changing. So don't come into education if you don't like change. So, but thanks again for having me here. I want to kind of go over a program that's in its fourth year of its, which began out of an idea to try to provide more access to vocational education, and in particular Greater Lawrence Technical School. Each year we have more and more students apply. Just an example, this year we had 1,600 students apply for 400 seats, and every year it seems to grow more and more. And but we just don't have the space to take in all the students that we would like to, and it's really heartbreaking to see students that you can't take in. So we tried to find, well, what's a program we could start? It doesn't offer, it offers a great opportunity for those students who may have not gotten in, but would like to still have learned some career area or a trade or a technical area in which they can pursue when they graduate. And so what I handed out to you is a document that has some slides that we typically show, that we have shown in a few different schools, and then a sample memorandum of agreement that we have with Lawrence, just so you get an idea of what it kind of looks like in terms of a commitment that you would be making to this program. I think that I think you'll like the program. It really costs practically zero to the district, but offers an opportunity for students that, particularly those students who know that they don't want to go on to college, or even a lot of these students actually are going on to college, but know they want to do something that's kind of hands-on, but never really thought about it until they got to be in their, end of their 10th grade. Said, oh, I like to do this, or I like to do that, I like this opportunity. So anyways, the program goal really, as it says in the slide, is to prepare comprehensive high school students for an in-demand career pathway job in high-growth industry. So we have 4 programs right now that we offer. We'll be expanding to 6 next year. Right now it's auto service technology, advanced manufacturing, which we formerly was called machine technology, which is far more technical and advanced. It's really kind of a clean space. You'd be amazed at what a machine shop looks like today. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. That's a career area that's exploding, going to double over the next 10 years because of the change in the industry. And metal fabrication and welding. These are 4 programs that are in high demand that we have way more jobs for graduates than we have students every year. Particularly in these industries, as I would say, and particularly with the way the job market's been, we've had in every area more jobs than we have students graduating. So it's been pretty, students have been fortunate to be graduating during these times. The graduates graduate with enhanced credentials from your high school. So in other words, they graduate with their regular North Andover High School diploma, but then they also get a 900-hour certificate from a technical training program, which is comparable to what our students, full-time students, get, minus a few hours, but the main core of a program, the 900 hours, they're going to graduate and have the same opportunities as our 4-year students from Greater Lawrence Tech. We look at these students as our students. We always, we have emblems where we have, in Lawrence case, we have Lawrence High and Greater Lawrence Tech merged together for the kids, and they participate in our graduation. We treat them. We encourage our own students to embrace them because our students are around when they come in. At first, it was a little difficult, but now our kids have gone to really adopt incoming students from other schools and don't see them as intrusions on their own, on their school. At first, they're like, oh, what are they doing in our school? But because they come from the same neighborhoods too, particularly in Lawrence, because the first program started with Lawrence. So it's really been a eye-opener for our own students to learn how to be compassionate to other kids that are coming from Lawrence, and in many cases, students that have struggled in Lawrence High in the beginning, particularly the first 2 years. We took a lot of low-performing students from Lawrence High. Our first graduating class, so we had, of the 22 students that graduated, 8 went on to college, and the other 14 all had jobs in the industry, and that was metal. And the first program was advanced manufacturing, and they had jobs coming out of high school. So it worked out good. So right now our partners are Lawrence High School, Andover High School, Phoenix Charter Academic School, and for this year's, our first year, we have students from Methuen High School. And we hope next year to have students from North Andover High School. But I think it's also a chance for kids coming from other high schools to talk about what's going on in their own high schools. And so that's kind of a neat thing also for the students to get. So the benefits are kind of an expanded opportunity for local high school students to receive career technical education in the Merrimack Valley. And we believe, Greater Lawrence Technical School, we really believe that our programs are very cutting edge technology-wise in every one of our programs. We have 20 technical programs. We will be adding 4 new technical programs to the school next year. We're in the process of getting 4 programs, Chapter 74 approved through the Department of Education. That's a 1-year-long process, but we'll be adding 4 new programs to the school because we want to expand it. Right now, we're at about 1,700 students. We're looking to expand to 2,000 students over the next 3 years so that we can offer more opportunities, but even more importantly, because there are career areas that are really in high demand that we believe we want to open up. Just an example, aviation is one of those programs we're going to be opening up, and actually the classes will be right here in North Andover at the Lawrence Airport. Where we'll be leasing a hangar for part of our education. I'm throwing in a few other things, marketing for Greater Lawrence Tech. But anyways, our biggest challenge in this program has actually been trying to find teachers for the program because we have to have Chapter 74 students. These programs are Chapter 74 approved. They go through the same approval process as our day programs. And so we have to meet the same criteria and guidelines as we do for the day program, which includes having a Chapter 74 licensed teacher. So fortunately, we've been able to convince our day teachers to continue on and teach these programs for the most. And then we've also been able to go to, actually we have 2 teachers from other technical high schools that are teaching in the program as well. And each class that we do, each program we have both an EL and special ed teacher as part of the program. So we support special ed students, and we support the EL students that are in the programs. We get a lot of students in this program who are EL students from Lawrence, and so we provide, we make sure that they have the same support they have as Lawrence High that they have when they come into these programs, so that they feel valued. What's really important to us is that we want the students to feel like that they are valued, that we're really happy they're in the program, and that they feel like they're part of our school. It's really particularly important to myself. That was one of the things when we started this program. I said, I want kids to come to this that feel like they are Reggies, but they're also Knights. They have both identities, but that we really want them there, because if that's the case, they're going to work harder. So when we pick the teachers, one of the things when we interview the teachers, we want to make sure that the teachers feel the way we feel about the program and the students themselves, because we think that that's important. And that's what's caused a lot. That's, I think, the main reason why the program's been very successful. The students who come into the program do very well. We have students that are struggling in the regular high school, and all of a sudden their performance at the regular high school has changed. Attendance is better. They're doing better in their academics. They see the connection to the academic program and how it's utilized in their technical program. Each of these programs is hands-on, but it's also related theory, so they get the science, the math, and the terminology that goes with these programs, so that so when they're learning the hands-on, they can apply everything they learn, both in their high school and in their theory, and so that you find that students become much more interested in learning the academic, because they see, oh, I need this in order to be successful in the career area that I'm working, and it has made a difference for many of the students. So, so I said, so our schedule, how it works is that when students from different depending on which high school they come from, and depending on your own policies with regards to attendance in coming to school and what they get credit for, what they don't get credit for, some of the high schools have the students come to school late. They come in at 9. In Lawrence, the first year, they were coming to school at 11, getting out at 2:30, and coming to Greater Lawrence Tech. So the 3 hours they spend with us count towards their as an elective towards credits towards their graduation. And so the students got to stay up, got to get up late and come to school later. And then what happens is we would pick them up at the high school at 2:30. So we provide the transportation at all 4 of the schools that are involved now, which we would do the same if North Andover was involved. We incur the transportation cost, so there's no cost to North Andover. So, yep. And then they travel from GALTS, and the first thing we do is we give them lunch when they get to the school, because by that time it's 2:30, and they're not going to have anything to eat till 5:30, and so we give them a small kind of a lunch, not a full supper, but a lunch. So all the students eat as soon as they get, and that gives, because they get there a little earlier than our kids are dismissed, so they, and we do some activities while they're having their lunch every day, some related theory, some fun things to try to get kids socially connected better from all the different schools. So we do that the first thing we do when they come in every day. That's the first activity, but they get a chance to eat as well. And because it's in the cafeteria, they when they're done eating, they get to socialize with each other and do the things they like to do. So then the classes really go from basically from 3 to, it says 3 to 5:15. It's interesting it says 5:15 here, because I just had a meeting the other day saying that they have to go to 5:30. They can't stop at 5:15. That's 15 minutes too early, so now they go to 5:30. So all of the lunches, all of that is provided by Greater Lawrence Tech. So currently, right now, we have, between the 4 programs, we have 2 grades, so it's 11th graders and 12th graders. There's 12 students per grade level, so that's 24 students per shop, so we have a maximum of 96 students in the program right now. When we add 2 more programs next year, we'll be adding another 48 students to the program. We did have to turn down a few students in this for the first time. We had to turn down a few students in the program because we didn't have the space. During the COVID period, the program was down to 56 students, but has gone back up to full capacity this year. So the students apply in the 10th grade and come into the school, and we talk to the students who may be interested in pursuing the program and tell them a little bit about the program, the commitment, and to see who might be interested in the program. We work very closely with your guidance department, and with our we have our guidance people, and we have specific people who work in this particular program, work closely with your own guidance people in order to do a presentation, get a chance to talk to the students to see if they would be interested in pursuing this type of program. I think the difficulty for students is that if they're involved in this program, this becomes their extracurricular, because they can't do sports, they can't do other things, and I think that's really hard for kids. You know, it takes a particular student that is willing to give up those that extra activities that they might enjoy with their with their peers here at North Andover High School. So when students apply and come in, most of them, they're pretty serious about it. What's really good too is that we have a support staff at the school that works very closely with students. If they start to show, they stop showing up. We really want every one of them to be there every day and to graduate every day. So we have guidance staff that work closely with the students. And then what we'll do if a student starts to not show up, or we always have we have our guidance counselors meet with them to try to get a sense of what's really going on. Sometimes it's just difficulties emotionally with them, just leaving their friends or not being able to be with their friends after school. Sometimes it's a financial thing. So we've supported students financially and sometimes to keep them in the program. We'll do anything we can to keep the students in the program. We meet with the parents. We talk to them if we think there's something going on at the home, because we don't want to lose the students. We really want every one of the students to finish. Because we really believe that this is a second opportunity that can be life-changing when they're in any one of these careers. If the students are coming from a comprehensive school and they're willing to do this, we got to do everything we can to help them be successful. So that's really important to us. So students apply for the After Dark program. So it's in the end of their 10th grade, after we've come in and we visited and they have an understanding what the program's all about. So they apply online through the GLTS admissions portal, and it's a extended application timeline. We go as long as we can, keep the timeline open, the application process as long as we can, till we don't make decisions until during the summer. And we work with the guidance counselors at a particular school when it comes time. If we have more students applying than we can take, then we follow pretty much our admissions policy that we use during the day. We use the same four criteria, which is grades, attendance, discipline, and recommendations from the guidance counselors. Albeit discipline, the only impact that discipline would have is if it was a serious offense. So, suspensions or for minor infractions, those kinds of things have no impact on whether they get accepted or not, as it does. Same with our day programs now. We've made some changes there as well. So they have the same schedule as you have at your school and our school, and so if they don't have school at North Andover High, then they don't have to come then we don't have the program for them. They don't have to come. If it's a day that we don't have school, then they wouldn't be coming, and we'll notify you of any of those situations. We work closely with you with snow days, and any of the time frames that might happen, or something comes up at the school we feel is important, that we may not have school for one reason or another. We always keep you well informed way ahead of time, so that you know that students won't be coming to the program. And then understanding that could happen, what would you want students to do? Just go home, or do something at the high school, fill in that time. But it's rare. It's rarely a rare occasion that we we don't have a class. We try to keep the class. Sometimes we have a half a day, but we'll still run the program for this, for the After Dark program, even though we may have a half a day. There's just on here a few reasons why students like the program. So I have a memorandum of agreement here that kind of shows the same, what would be similar to an agreement we would have with you. May not be exactly, because you may feel differently about certain things than any of the other schools. I won't read all through this for you, but I'll leave this with you so you can really understand and get deep understanding of how it all works. Basically the program is funded through Chapter 74. So what happens is North Andover High, in their October 1st report, would claim any students that are in this program as Chapter 74 North Andover students. So the funding comes directly to you. So no funding comes to Greater Lawrence Technical School, and through the memorandum of agreement, we would get funding back from yourselves. So typically, per student, Chapter 74, depending on what our per pupil cost is about $5,400 is what you would get from the state for each of these Chapter 74 students, and that's what we would bill you, exactly what you get charged from the state. So it wouldn't cost any more than what you get to cover the cost of the program. And then we cover also the busing, we cover all the materials. Probably the cost to the district would be any support that you may do here at North Andover. If there's a discipline issue or problem, we follow your discipline guidelines and our discipline guidelines, and we try to put a manual together that's consistent with both sides. We work with your discipline department to better understand what's important, your regulations and rules and what goes on here at North Andover, so we can hold them accountable to the same level of expectations as well as grant. And they're usually pretty close anyways, in terms of what the expectations are. We have certain things with safety and all that are critical and important, but we try to make sure that the students, it's easy for them to follow the same rules. We don't want to make it any harder than it has to be, and we want them to enjoy the experience as well when they're with us. Attendance is usually very good. We don't have a lot of students that don't show up every day. Most of the kids who come really love doing it, so it works out pretty well. So
this is Superintendent Lavoie. It's an exciting opportunity. I know it started in Lawrence.
Yes.
And I may know the supervisor of counselors at Lawrence High School really well, who works really closely with you. And now that it's expanded out, it's just a really cool opportunity. And for those who don't know, Chapter 74 funding, that's vocational funding from the state. This was an initiative by the Baker-Polito administration to put some money, more money towards these types of skills. So really for us, the purpose of tonight is to have these folks in to present. This is something typically that we'd recruit sophomores for later in the spring. This would be something for the following year for juniors and seniors, as Superintendent Lavoie and Ms. Pinkston and Mr. Jackson said. And it's just a really cool opportunity to continue part of your coursework in the day at North Andover High School, but then to get, whether it's heating, ventilation, air conditioning, HVAC, welding, machine tool technology, automotive, whatever it is, it's like a really unbelievable program. And when I say the machine tool technology, Superintendent Lavoie had me over last year. They had an MIT professor teaching the course, and I'm probably $10 or $15 million worth of equipment in that room that could manufacture anything, from parts for a space shuttle to, maybe computers, anything could manufacture. So it's a cool opportunity, and I think we all know that this is vocational education has taken off. I mean, it's always been an excellent option for our students, but the amount of people applying at technical schools everywhere is huge, and this is going to give some of our kids a really good chance to find themselves set up in a field where they can go and get in right away and be on the right track, and the right track for a great career. So really this introduction tonight is the first step. The memorandum's great, the example, and we know that Andover just did one last year in Methuen as well. Yeah. And so we have some really good examples, and I think it's just a really exciting opportunity.
Can we ask some questions? I imagine we might have some questions.
You can, Madam Chair. Absolutely.
Ms. Picard.
I think it's a really exciting opportunity. Superintendent Lavoie, it's nice to see you. We've been at Crest together for a few years on that board. So,
yes.
So I'm familiar with your work there as well.
Yeah.
I was raised by a middle school shop teacher, so I totally get how important hands-on work is, and applied math, applied science, and how that lights people on fire. I really like in the memorandum that you take a cohort from each community
Yeah.
I think it would be really tough for, one North Andover student to be on the
Right.
way rather than a small cohort. The transportation sounds great. Would they go to your graduation?
That would be up to the your North Andover High and the students themselves.
We would be
Yeah,
making
we would, each year we offer to the students in the different districts if they
Okay.
Are they
would
on
like.
different
And
days?
would they have access to the scholarship opportunities? Because you guys have tremendous scholarship money.
We haven't really done much with that, but actually I like that idea, so that might
Me
be something.
too.
Yeah, that might be something we should incorporate in the future, so that it gives something for students to work towards.
That's great. And so would we need to have a minimum number of students?
No, whatever, if you had 1, 2, whatever, we're willing to offer whoever wants to participate.
And you guys feel like we have students that would take advantage of this opportunity?
I do. I think that we have students who either applied to Greater Lawrence, leaving middle school and they didn't
Absolutely.
get in, or we often have students who, wanted to come to the high school or they were sort of on the fence coming into freshman year. They get to us, they realize, I need something different. I don't learn best in this environment. I really am more, I need to be hands-on. I need to be doing something. We have a couple classes where they sort of, within our school, where they can sort of get that experiential learning early on, and they sort of realize that that's where I need to be. And for us, that's where we can sort of say, here's this opportunity where you can sort of grow this interest that you have where we're limited.
Yeah, I had one of those students that applied to the tech school and, had to make a choice between North Andover High and the tech school. So it's really great to have that kind of secondary opportunity. I think they would be both great opportunities for kids, whether it's full-time or whether it's the later in high school. So thank you very much for sharing this information and for, bringing us so much that we can work with. And it looks like we could do this potentially for next year. Is that right?
That is the hope.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Ms. Vitsky?
The CTE programs, do they take all of them and choose which one they want, or do they go in having chosen one?
So we do a 2-week exploratory where they, for 10 days, over a 10-day period, they try each program for two days in each program to see, and so they learn about the career, they get to do some hands-on work, and then at the
And then
end
they
of
choose
that,
one
they
to
choose
finish.
which of the 4 they would like to pursue.
And what are the 2 new ones that you're adding?
Excuse me?
What are the 2 new ones that you're adding?
We're looking at robotics automation technician. So we train kids to fix robots and fix automation equipment such as CNC equipment. It's an exploding field, and so you name robots from the medical field to transportation. It's everywhere, and so we teach kids how to fix that kind of equipment in that particular program. So we're looking to add that one next year. We're just got approved for a postgraduate program in that area, so we're working with Northern Essex to build a postgraduate associate's degree program in that particular area as well. And then the other one is we're looking at medical assistant, expanding our medical assistant
Oh, great.
program.
Thanks.
To offer more opportunities for kids in those fields, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Hicks?
Do we have how many students from North Andover currently go to the tech?
I think right now it's roughly, I think it's about 29,
Yes,
That's a big growth.
28.
yeah. It's about
We're
28, 29. It's
Yeah.
just under 30.
Yeah,
Yep.
about
We were
2%.
at 13 when Jesse was applying, so,
We can double check, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's grown every year we get a few more. So it's grown over the years. Yep.
Do we have a large number of North Andover kids not getting accepted?
Very few. We may have, we don't have a lot that don't get accepted, no, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, and then so my question then would be in terms of just like how we, not really a question, I guess, a wondering, is in terms of like just the way the admissions policy is structured now in terms of like number of students applying to the program based on number of applicants from North Andover previously, and just like making sure we can get as many of our kiddos the opportunity to go as possible. So just there. But, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we can also learn from our experience with our neighbors Andover too. I think they have a similar population of total students probably at Greater Lawrence. But more importantly, it takes a really special student that's really interested in this field because it's it's into the afternoon in those hours. And you have to make choices. Some kids really like to work jobs, others have athletics or play or band.
I wonder if there are opportunities for us to meet some of the students' interest in sports and activities, to have access to the workout room or to have access to PE classes that would be before their 11 o'clock if they were interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends where the student is in terms of their graduation requirements. Our priorities are obviously having our students meet their core graduation requirements, and so preliminarily, as we've been kind of looking at how our schedule would look, we'd be scheduling students for 3 periods a day, periods 5, 6, and 7 with us, so we could very easily meet core requirements in that time period for juniors and seniors, especially if they're on track to graduate. But if we can offer some flexibility, especially if we're able to count, we're going to be counting the classes that they're taking there towards different things, and depending upon what they're doing, can we count it for science? Can we count it for different things, which will open up other opportunities? We're looking for ways to say yes on this and working with kids to both foster their interest and grow their education in different ways. So if we can say yes in a way that fits all of our criteria, we're absolutely doing that.
Awesome. So I'm just going to go back to a line I heard earlier, and the world that we share, and this is really it. So this is fantastic, and I love this is maybe the best meeting I think we've had in a very long time on the impact of what we're providing our students and the different opportunities, not just a different class, but different ways that kind of impact how they learn and how they leave North Andover as well. I mean, and I think this is just amazing. This is really one of the things when we voted 2 to 3 years ago in terms of changing the schedule. And I think we were still, I think it was in 2020 that we made that change, and we were kind of coming back. So that fall of 2020, and we're hopeful for all of these things, right? And the opportunity for kids to be able to learn and maybe take classes. And, I never even really thought that this program would be possible. So thank you very much for that. The fact that these students would graduate, from North Andover and still coming out of Greater Lawrence have, roughly 900 hours, somewhat the equivalent of what a full-time Greater Lawrence student, I mean, the way that you're structuring that day, I think, is absolutely fantastic. So thank you to you and all of your team for kind of doing that and having the foresight and initiative to do that. And I'm just thinking back a little bit, one to one of my nephews, but one. This is probably about 5 years ago. We have a capstone project where students kind of explore something that's really kind of interesting to them for, I think at the time it was like their last 2 trimesters, if I remember correctly. And one of the students spoke very, very well, but he spoke about how he discovered through his summer job just building, right? And he was working with, I don't know who, it could have been a parent or somebody who he just got the job, and how he learned how to build, I don't know if he was building houses or doing, some level of construction, and how he was applying all of the math and the differences with all that. And he was like, this is why kids go to the vocational schools. This is what I didn't understand, and this now is like where I want to go. And he kind of said it in a way that, in one way, it wasn't always like you could take it very much out of context, but he wasn't down on the high school, but he was down on the fact that he hadn't been given that opportunity, right, to do that. And I just think that that's incredibly valuable. And this is just fantastic. Thank you. I love it. I really do.
Yeah, I kind of will echo a lot of what you're saying, and I just feel like this is kind of like a twofold project where, one, we're recognizing that not all students learn in a traditional classroom, and that's okay. And when you make what they're learning is meaningful and authentic, and they see it being applied in ways that they can see results right then and there, that's why your attendance is so high. That's why they're performing so well and coming out of it so successfully. And I think that, you know, we have to recognize that not every student needs to go to college, and that's okay as well. And now we're opening up more pathways for students to have successful careers and to find out what those careers might even be. Even if they go there and they're like, "Ooh, yeah, I'm not sure I want that." At least they've tried it and seen maybe that will lead to something else. Just these opportunities are just so awesome. My question is, how are we sharing this with our student population? And then is there a maximum number of students that are we capped at a certain number?
So for us, in terms of advertising and all of that stuff, we haven't yet.
Right.
But we haven't really gotten to that stage, but that's my game plan at this point.
It sounds like a great one. I mean, why reinvent the wheel if it's already being done? Let's see what's been working and roll from there. That makes sense. Thank you.
Dr. Gilligan. We entertain the idea of bringing our middle school students over to visit the tech school so that they know what that opportunity might be before high school and might come up again later in high school.
Well, it's interesting you asked that. So, we
I ask that every year.
Well, we may not be bringing them over, but Superintendent Lavoie reached out last week with me to have a conversation. You know, typically it's been, they come to North Andover Middle School and they do a great job, but typically it's been a much smaller audience based on who's interested. And I'm sure, you know,
I went to a meet last week, and my son was like right there learning. Just driving around the building, he was already interested in things that they were learning there.
We do have open house coming the first Sunday in November from 12 to 2 p.m. I'll tell you, when you come and then we're going to have one at the airport itself. So we're always expanding, and we're also going to be putting 2 other smaller buildings, one to expand all our medical programs, because the medical field is growing so quickly, and more pathways from the medical program. So we'll do paramedics, we'll do more with getting students to a higher level when it comes to nursing assistants, because they come out with their CNA. We want them to have other credentials as well, so that they can get into nursing. A high percentage of our kids go on to become nurses that come out of that program. We had a couple of kids go on to become doctors out of that program as well. So kids, the opportunities are there. After we include these 4 new programs, we'll have 24 technical programs, and we have professionals that come in twice a year to look at our curriculum, our equipment, look at the trends that's going on. So we always are looking at what's going to happen in the next 5 years. We're in the process of doing our new 5-year strategic plan, which includes reviewing every single career to say, where is this career going to be in 5 years? Do we have the equipment? Do we have the curriculum? Because we want kids to be ready for what's going to happen in 5 years. A student comes in as a freshman, it's almost 5 years away. The industry is going to change a lot in 5. There isn't an industry we teach that's not going to change in 5 years, that we have to be able to prepare our kids for that. So we take that very serious and try to make sure that kids have great success when they leave.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
You thought of everything.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Folks, thanks so much. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Lavoie.
You're welcome.
And that's going to conclude the superintendent's report.
Oh,
wait a minute.
You got one more on there.
Hold on. Yes, I forgot about the October 1 enrollment, quick October 1 enrollment update. And I'm going to have Dr. Mealy do that.
All right. Yeah. So we do this every year. October 1 numbers come in. They have not been certified yet, but they do not change much at all. I can't remember last time they got changed from what we submitted to what got certified. So you see in this row here, row 34, that is our October 1 numbers for preschool all the way up to 12th grade. And you can see the change from the previous year. So for instance, that 18, it means we had 290 kindergarten students, and this year we have 308 first grade students. And then from first grade to second grade, we lost 7. From second to third, we gained 10. And that changes every year. One grade might be up and another grade down, and the next year it's just the opposite. A couple of questions that did come up when I sent this. Mr. McDevitt had asked to see the changes over the last 10 years for each grade. So this is K to 1. You can see the average change is plus 13. 1 to 2, the average change is 4.6. And you can see for yourself across the bottom there the average changes. You can also see how that compares to this year if you just look at the column above the averages. So for instance, we average a loss of 32 students per year going from 8th grade to 9th grade. That was 24 from last year to this year. And then I also included the projection. We always compare how well we did in the projection. But we take the 5-year average to do so, and it's been pretty consistent. You can see that we are down 8 in kindergarten. We had been averaging 310. We have 302. We're up 5 from what we would have expected for first grade coming out of kindergarten, and you can see that all the way across. We have been down the last few years, but this goes to the other question I got was from Ms. Picard regarding what do our projections look like. And if you look at the last 3 or 4 years, it looks like we're going down. But we've cautioned, if you recall, when we were doing the facilities master plan, the subcommittee meetings, how if you look at a small number of years, it could project skewed. And so over 30 or so years, we've seen that we average about 30, plus 30 students a year So one of the things I look at are the number of births, and births had been down for the last few years. They look like they're coming up, and talking to the town clerk, if you look at our number of maternity leave requests, it certainly is consistent with those going up. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. We monitor it every year, but those are the things I've seen. And certainly we'll go and look at anything that you want me to in further detail.
Do we have any questions, Ms. Picard? Or you asked your questions, Ms. Vitsky?
What is the pre before the total on that slide up there?
Which one?
It says pre before total.
Oh,
Is that?
that's just the
pre-K?
preschool.
Okay. That's what
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Hicks?
Clarifying question on Ms. Vitsky's.
He likes an introduction. So.
Preschool, the number of kids, the total number of kids we're servicing, or the number of kids we have to service? Like, are those total? Okay.
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt? Or are you done?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. You may have said this, but I was looking. So right where we are there, it looks like probably 61 to 66 are highlighted in kind of that mustard. And then does that represent the average at the top? That it looks like maybe C53?
Correct.
That 15?
Correct.
Okay.
That's
I think
actually,
you said that, but I just.
That's the 5-year average right
The
there.
5-year average, okay.
Yep. And so I highlighted 6 rows, but that's because you have to go back to 17, 18 as the one moving to 18, 19. And so there are 5 moves that take place over 6 years.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's interesting. We're losing in kind of that 5th to 6th grade, right? We're losing roughly 2.5. And then at the high school level, roughly 31. And then other than that, we're staying relatively stable with those numbers.
Each year, correct. And so 30's been about average. I remember when I first started, it was probably in the 50s or 60s,
Yep.
that number. But after the recession, it didn't really, more came back to North Andover High School, and it didn't really go back to the pre-recession numbers.
Okay, and then just going back up a little bit, can you go to the grade transitions about, nope, down, sorry.
These, yeah.
Yeah, that middle section there. So again, I'm kind of looking at that 8 to 9. And we've always kind of averaged, as we just saw, roughly that, 30 that's there. 19 to 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's 52. Obviously, that's a year that COVID kind of hit in March. So that would have been October of 2019, correct? That was reported?
So 20.
Do you know what
No.
I'm asking?
Oh, for 1920, it would have been October of 19.
So before the pandemic, we lost 52 students, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just making sure I'm
Correct.
understanding
That's
that.
correct.
And then coming back, kind of really back on that average.
Correct. Yeah, that's kind of that 1 year is an outlier compared to
Yeah.
all the other data in that column.
But when you look at the next line down, we gain potentially some of those students back, right? So the 52 that left, in the next year, we gained 1 in 9th grade, 5 in 10th grade, and 10 in 12th.
That's true.
Where we tend to lose a couple, kind of coming in. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. The 52 just really jumped out. I mean, I don't remember it that far back into, why 43, but I was trying to just figure out if that was even students who left during the year, right? Or it was really before.
October 1, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then last question, any student who's homeschooled, where are they counted on this?
They wouldn't be in this.
They don't.
They're not in this at all.
The ones that are in this are those that are in school and are out of district students.
in school and out of district. Okay, all right.
Can I ask one follow-up question?
Of course.
No.
Sorry to be out of order. When students leave, do we ever collect any data on reasons why? Or do we ever discover like where they go or?
Yeah, Addie does, she has to. Yeah, so there's when Addie, who's the
Schaefer.
Schaefer.
Yes.
The state, they collect data, we can see where they go, for the most part.
Yep.
Where are they going?
Move, it's typical move in, move out, is the majority of it.
Yeah. And that's what people don't see, those numbers,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes they're a wash. You know, you have kids that move out, move
Aside
to other
from the tech schools,
communities.
you know, we have all those kids, but then that's just a typical move in, move out.
And then we have some move-ins.
Cool.
Great. Thank you.
And that, folks, is going to conclude the superintendent's report. Really exciting tonight. It was great to have the folks in.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, so moving on to Chair's report. So just a couple of quick things. We have a really amazing scholarship scholarships that came in through the town. And we are looking for a couple of either one or two members to participate in the selection committee. Is that
Correct.
correct? Yeah.
Yes.
I think you can probably do a better job explaining the
So,
background.
tremendous gift to the town and to our high school students. Donald R. Andrew Estate is setting up 3 scholarships. 2 of them are connected to science and technology, and the third is just general. What they're looking for, and the numbers are 600,000, 200,000, and 600,000, has been set aside to generate the funds that would be available each year. They get invested, and I've talked to Kim Mackey, our town treasurer, who has started receiving the funds. People are asking, oh, could we do it this year? And maybe, maybe not. They've started receiving them, but for instance, the first one of $600,000, they've gotten $180,000 so far, and then they're in the process of liquidating assets to produce the rest of the funds to make up the rest. And she is investing those in with the same firm that 310 out of 350 or so districts use. So it's a lot, you have a lot of confidence in it. It's one of those that it's not going to be a tremendous return, but it's going to be a safe and consistent return. And so whatever that investment return is annually is the amount that will be available for the scholarship. What they're looking for is a school committee member has to be on each of the 3. It can be one who is on all 3. It can be it can be one on 2 of them and one on the other, or it could be one on each of them. But we just need a school committee member to be willing to serve on the selection committee.
And when is the selection committee going to be formed, and when will
So
they do
it's
that
either we'll try this year, but it will either be this year or definitely starting next year.
When you say this year, though, do you mean January? Do you mean June?
The normal, they're gone now, but
Scholarship time.
Yeah, April vacation.
Probably like March, April, probably around that time.
Yeah.
So if anybody is interested in that, just let me know and we can figure out who will serve, if we need to have 1 or 2 or 3 of us. Any other discussion or questions?
Can you say something really quick?
Yes, please do.
So, I mean, this is public. This was on the select board agenda, I think, back in August, maybe. Maybe even
sure.
before that.
Yeah.
And kind of just stumbled on this, and obviously, this is amazing, and reached out to a number of folks in terms of like who was Donald Andrew, because it was not a name that I had heard, and I asked a whole list of people, and finally somebody said, why are you continuing to ask? You need to just ask Terry Holland, and Terry will tell you everything about this person. And so I called Terry, and sure enough, I don't even know if it was 24 hours, but he had a tremendous amount of information And I think we should probably, highlight this a little bit more kind of as we get in. But I think one of the amazing things is, the scholarship that is in honor of Charles and Elizabeth Andrew. His mom, I think, worked at the high school for a number of years, and so, amazing to honor his parents with a $600,000 scholarship that kind of goes on. And then the other two, we have our professional teacher status meeting next week, and we're honoring the North Andover Educator Hall of Fame. But Alice M. and Neil and Claire T. Torpy, if I'm saying that correctly, were two teachers that he had at the high school. And I just can't even imagine the impact that those teachers had. And they, one, I spent a lot of time Googling. One passed in about 2010, if I remember, and the other one might have been early 2000s. Although I wasn't totally sure on that one. But I mean, how amazing for a teacher to know and understand the impact that their class had on a student. And Donald graduated from high school at 16 and passed, I think, about a year ago, or coming up on a year. And that many years later, he was honoring a teacher. And I just think it's truly, truly remarkable. So
Thank you. No, I agree. Thank you.
I can tell you that I have reached out to the attorney representing them to ask if there's anybody who would like to come and represent them and allow us to express our appreciation and gratitude. And so they're going to follow up and let us know.
And tell them to call Mr. McDevitt because.
Well, not only Mr. McDevitt, but I did attend a meeting with Dr. Mealy at the high school with Ms. Pinkston, and no surprise, Debbie Conti from the guidance department, and they, supplemented even the information that Andrew had. So I think tonight really was to get it out there that we're going to need someone for the committee. Mm-hmm. But hopefully, if we have family willing to come, this would be an amazing thing to celebrate, because you just don't see this happen anywhere. I mean, this type of gift.
This is $1.4 million that he donated, and there was another school district in the Commonwealth that also received some funds, but I mean less than 10% of what he donated back to North Andover. And his family had roots here, going back very significant amount of time. One of his ancestors was governor of Massachusetts during the Civil War, and his family's been in the kind of Merrimack Valley for generations. So this is just amazing.
Definitely have them call Mr.
McDevitt. I love it. It's so exciting.
So Andrew, I'll be happy to draft your will. Everything to the high school as well.
No, but Mr. McDevitt, I think the other point too that you really just hit the nail on the head is the impact that our teachers have on people in their careers and all these years later. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, I think it was whenever Mr. Andrew graduated, I think it was 1968 from the high school. Or in that vicinity, to think all these years later, they'd be donating this money to the North Andover Public Schools and to our students is remarkable.
That is. Okay, and then next up, I just wanted to recognize that we have a new cross-country trail, and I think we were all there yesterday, that we were able to watch. I think I actually missed the finish line because I was in the wrong spot, and then trucked over and missed it, but it was really great to see and feel the energy of the students there, and then see a little bit of their senior night, and just happy to have this home base for our really amazing cross-country team. It's just it's awesome that they have this now, and that they have this home base, and I've heard it's a really tough trail, but that will give us our home field advantage, I guess, right? So anyone have thoughts on anything they want to share on the cross-country trail? Okay, so let's move on to old business. We have the second reading of the FY24 capital improvement plan. We're not voting
Second
tonight,
reading, but
right?
not voting.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Superintendent Gilligan and I have shared this with the town manager, but we haven't been able to connect with her yet. I'm sure we will next week. But just to show you where we are now, I've plugged in the schedule for the facilities master plan, and the changes that we talked about, Mr. McDevitt presciently talked about combining a lot of the accounts into one, which we have done. So the detail is that the middle school construction, what we expect to happen, the design funds were approved at this past town meeting. The design firm is working. An OPM has been that was bid out, and interviews will be occurring. And the school building committee is being put together for that. And then the design will occur based on stakeholder feedback during the year, and we look to go to next town meeting for construction funds. Kittredge feasibility design, following the MSBA schedule as we've seen. And by the way, they did accept the school building committee form, so that's been approved.
Check that box.
Yep. So we're on schedule. We'll be in the feasibility study stage come this May. The gym, the ABEC gym, we'll be looking for design funds for that, and then construction the following year. District-wide paving, we've completed the paving, the new paving on those schools that are not part of facilities master plan. So we're keeping a smaller amount in there to allow us to patch where needed until the project does happen. Drainage issues, that's been increased to complete the certificate of compliance that we need to do for the high school. And the exterior maintenance renovation was increased so that we could level off and irrigate the high school baseball field. And funds have been added to address the needs for upgraded lighting, sound, staging, and controls at the high school auditorium in a 2-year plan, $200,000 in the first and $150,000 in the second. And I've been working with our Mike Grant and Brian Frazier to get the estimates for those. And then the security, as you know, we were fortunate to get that done this year. And then we'll continue with the annual IT infrastructure maintenance, which that number comes from the fact that our infrastructure value is about $2 million, and you should have about 10% a year in maintenance of your asset. And then, like I said, just kind of highlighting district-wide exterior maintenance renovation going forward. We move all the money into there at $250,000 a year to give us more flexibility to deal with whatever might come up with regards to the exterior. Interior-wise, HVAC and roofs and things like that, Steve Foster is taking the responsibility for those items. Any questions?
Sorry. Ms. Picard, do you have any questions?
Well, I'm curious if this needs to be approved tonight, since you haven't showed it to the town manager yet, or if you prefer we wait.
I'd rather wait.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Ms. Vitsky, any questions?
No questions, thanks.
Mr. Hicks?
No questions.
Mr. McDevitt?
Just one consideration. So I'm sure that this is on the website and a Google Doc or a shareable file. I think as we start to go through some of the construction costs that are kind of in that greenish, I think it would be great to be able to put those out and have them be visible. I don't know if that's going to be shared out on the town's website, but I think we should share that information as well in case somebody is looking on our website or their website, so that they're referencing the same type of document.
So are you talking about the top section?
Like where it says design
Facilities
and
master
construction?
plan?
Yep.
Just plug it in. Actually, what I can do is, we do have the number for design for middle school construction. That's what was approved. So as the number becomes known, I can plug it in.
Yep.
Yep.
No, I think regardless of where somebody looks,
Mhm.
they should be able to find that.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Good
Mhm.
idea. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to new business, we have, just for informational, budget status report.
Yep, so first one of the year doesn't reflect a lot. The only thing I highlighted really is the fact that we are starting to see the impact of inflation on goods and services. That's mainly to account for the about 1.5% over what we would normally see at this time of the year. What we do when we do these budget status reports is we do them for the same number of payrolls and warrants each year, so that you can compare one year to the last, or to 2 or 3 previous years. And when you look, the average has been about 20% at this point in the year, and we're at 21.5%. So we'll continue to monitor the impact it's having.
Okay. Do we have questions, thoughts? Ms. Picard?
No, I'm good.
Ms. Fitzke?
No, thank you.
Mr. Hicks?
Glancing through really quickly, has there been any impact on electrical costs because of the National Grid changes?
Not yet, because we enter into a long-term I think it's a 3-year contract. So it depends. I have to check with Lynn Savage to see where we are on that, but it could start to have an impact.
How far into that contract are we?
That's what I have to find out.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
Good thinking. Mr. McDevitt?
None tonight, thank you.
And I do not have questions at this time either. Okay. Where are we? Is there public comment? All the public has gone. I think that, is there member comment? Ms. Picard? No? Ms. Fitzke?
No, I was going to say what Andrew said earlier, and that this has been a very enjoyable meeting tonight. Good job putting the agenda together with those nice presentations.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes, I love all the happy things we got to learn about tonight. So tonight I went to see, briefly before the meeting, the girls' soccer game at the high school, and it was senior night, and at the cross-country meet, and then last week at the girls' swim meet, I was reminded that the things that our students are learning on the field, or the court, and the trail, and the course, all the different athletic facilities that they play at, or in the pool, the lessons they learn there are really long-lasting, and they stay with our students for a very long time, and it's really important that we recognize that. And tonight I got to see firsthand some incredible poise and dignity that our senior girls displayed on the field and supporting one of their teammates, and that was a wonderful and beautiful thing to see. So congratulations to them and to their parents, and to Lisa Razinen and her coaching staff for just building a really great, supportive, kind and caring program.
Great, thank you. Mr. McDevitt?
Nothing, great meeting, thank you.
Yeah. No, I will echo what everyone else said. It was really refreshing to hear about these awesome programs and opportunities for our students and the great things that are happening. So thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that. Usually you have to fight for the second.
And then we will vote. Ms. Picard?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzke?
Yes.
Sorry. Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. I think that makes us adjourned at 8:50. Not too bad.
Is that our only vote of the evening?